sorry. Thank you for coming.
Sorry, we're still talking.
Oh, no
That's
problem.
okay.
It's
ready?
I got it. Yeah, I think. Let me put this way, turn it off. All right. Sorry about that, everyone.
No, it's okay. They need to be the ones. I mean, this is for them. This is for them. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
You want me to hold an umbrella for you?
Nah, I'll be okay. I might be a little bit awkward with all my papers, but I think people will be all right.
I can hold something for you if you would like.
I'll put this in my pocket and I'll let you know. I'll let you know. But the plastic sleeve was good. Not ideal.
Gloria, can you hand this?
Ready? Yep. Okay. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything. A time for every experience under heaven. A time for dancing and a time for wailing. A time for birthing and a time for dying. A time for speaking and a time for silence. A time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with a recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Dorothy's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. I'm going to do Psalm 23 first in Hebrew, and then we'll do it in English together in your little pamphlet. Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo echsal, binot desheya bitzeni, amei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki eleh v'getz ha'maveh lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha Umishantecha, Shivtecha, Umishantecha, Hemayin Achamuni, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Neged zorera. Shanta Vashem en Roshi, Shanta Vashem en Roshi, Shanta Vashem en Roshi, Kosi Revaya, Achtov V'chesed, Yidefuni. Veshavti bevet Adonai, Veshavti bevet Adonai, leorach yamim. Inside in your program, on the inside in English, please join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Ashatile, a woman of valor or strength. Ashatile minsa v'rachok mipni mifra batach balev bala v'shala lo yeksa gemalchuto v'lo ra koyem bechayeha darshat semer ufishtim ותעש בחפץ כפיה. הייתה קוניות סוכה ממרחק תביא לחמה, ותקום בעוד לילה. ותיתן פרק לביתה וחופנותיה, זמן מהשדה ותיקחהו, מפריחה פנת הכרם, חוגר ועוז מותניה, ותאמץ זרועותיה. כמה כיתו ספרה, לא יכבה בלילה נרה ידיה שילחה בקישור וכפיה תפופה לך. כפה פרסה לעוני וידיה שילחה לאביון הותירה לביתה משלג כי כל ביתה לבושנים. מרדים עשתה לה שש רגמן לבושה נודע בשערים בעלה ושיפו עם זקני ארץ סדין עשתה ותמכור בחגור נתנה לכנעני עוז והדה לבושה ותשחק ליום אחרון היא הפכה בחוכמה ותורה חסד על לשונה סופיה לכות ביתה ולחם אכילות אוכל קמו בניה וישרוה בעלה והחללה רבות בנות עשו חיל ואת עלית על כולנה שקר החן והבל היופי אישה יראת אדוני היא תתהלך תנולה מפרי ידיה והללוה בשערים מעשיה. From Proverbs 31, I'm going to read it in English. A woman of strength who can find? Beyond pearls is her value. Her husband's heart trusts in her. Gain shall not be lacking for him. She does him only good, no harm, all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. From afar she brings her food. She rises while it is yet night and gives food to her household and a portion to her maids. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She girds with might her loins and strengthens her arms. She senses her wares are good. Her lamp never goes out at night. Her hands she extends the distaff, and her palms grasp the spindle. Her palms she opens the poor. Her hands she extends the needy. She has no fear for her household from the snow, for all her household are clothed in finery. Covering she makes herself, fine linen and purple are her garb. Her husband is known at the gates, where he sits with the elders of the land. A sheet she makes and sells. A fast she supplies the merchant. Strength and dignity are her garb, as she laughs at future days. Her mouth she opens in wisdom. A lesson in kindness is on her tongue. She watches the conduct of her household. The bread of sloth she never eats. Her children rise up to make her happy. Her husband praises her. Many women have excelled, but you surpass them all. Grace is deceitful. Beauty is illusory. A woman who fears God, she shall be praised. Give her credit for the fruit of her labors. May her deeds always praise her at the gates. First, I'm going to give a eulogy to Dorothy, and then I'm going to read a letter that Michael and Barbara wrote. There is an ancient and beautiful legend that tells us how God sent a ministering angel to earth to bring back to him the three things which were the most nearly divine, objects worthy of a place in heaven. When the angel came to earth, he entered a garden. He saw there a rose in bloom, and thinking it to be divinely beautiful, he plucked the rose. He next passed a house where, looking into the window, he saw an infant sleeping in a crib. He was struck by the infant's placid, peaceful smile and thought it worthy of a place in heaven. He then flew back and forth over the earth, wondering what the third thing should be. Suddenly, he saw a mother devotedly going about her work, and he took the mother's love to heaven. The legend describes how shortly afterwards, the rose withered, losing its beauty. The child awakened from his sleep, and no longer peaceful and placid, began to cry. The only thing that remained in heaven, as it was on earth, was the love of the mother. We know from our experience that the most divine gift we are privileged to enjoy is the love of our mothers, their devotion to our welfare, and their faithfulness to their families. Dorothy Schatz was a true Am B'Yisrael, a Jewish mother in the best and most wonderful sense, not only to her children, but also to her extended family. And the love she showed to all who she cared for and who cared for her was certainly a gift. Dorothy Tadelman Schatz was born on October 1st, 1921 in Omaha, Nebraska, to Russian immigrants. She was the third of four children, but the first one born in the United States. Dorothy's father, Meyer, came over to the U.S. in 1910 to establish himself with a family. Dorothy's mother and two sisters, Sid and Etta, followed 10 years later in 1920. Dorothy was born a year later, followed by her younger brother Mel a year after that. Dorothy grew up in a religious Orthodox Jewish home where even if finances were tight, love was always present in abundance. An incredibly intelligent child, Dorothy skipped 3 grades in school and received 10 A's at age 10, which got her featured in a newspaper. Later on, she was in National Honor Society and the lead, Peg, in Peg of My Heart, her class's senior play. Dorothy loved drama and was a talented and natural actress. She was even accepted at Northwestern University's drama program, but she knew her family would not be able to afford it, so she declined to attend. It was very disappointing for Dorothy, but then, as throughout her life, she did not complain. Dorothy was never a complainer, but moved on to shape her life in a different way. It was an AZA convention in Lincoln, Nebraska, where she met the love of her life and her husband of 62 and a half years, Sheldon Schatz. Sheldon was there playing basketball. Of course, Dorothy, never the sports lover, was not there to play basketball. But a friend of Sheldon's asked him to look across the room and see who appealed to him. And it was Dorothy who he pointed to. Dorothy and Sheldon began dating in early 41. After Pearl Harbor, they discussed whether or not they wanted to postpone getting married, but they decided to move forward in spite of the uncertainty in the world. On New Year's Eve, they were engaged and they were married on June 28, 1942. Right after Sheldon and Dorothy returned from their honeymoon, Sheldon received his adoption papers into the service. The next few years would see Sheldon and Dorothy sometimes together on military bases, but often separated by the war, especially when Sheldon was sent over to Guam and Dorothy returned home to Des Moines, where she and Sheldon had chosen to settle. After the war ended, Sheldon and Dorothy welcomed first their son Michael into their family, followed 4 years later by Barbara. Dorothy's true calling was as a mother. She was as caring and supportive as she could be, and she was so proud of her children, and so they wanted to make her proud of them. Dorothy and Sheldon's devotion as parents was something that cannot be taken for granted. Michael recalled being out with friends as an adult and feeling like he was the only one at the table at 8 that could recount an overwhelmingly positive and loving upbringing. For Sheldon and Dorothy, their children were the most important parts of their lives. They taught their children the value of appreciation. Dorothy even thanked the doctor for giving her a girl when she woke up But she more than anyone instilled in her children the value of trying to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Dorothy and Sheldon always wanted their children to have as much as they could give and didn't want them to miss out. Barbara remembered fondly a PTA lunch at school that she had to miss because she was homesick. Dorothy found out what the menu was and recreated the entire lunch for Barbara at home. There was a feeling that both Barbara and Michael were raised as only children in terms of the level of devotion and attention that each of them received. They were loved and doted on equally and thoroughly. Even when Tiger the dog found Dorothy and her family, she cared for him too, though she would have not called herself a dog person. It is fitting that Dorothy's Hebrew name was Dova, which means female bear, since mother bears are known for being affectionate, protective, devoted, sensitive, and attentive with their young. Bears also have a keen sense of community, are peaceful, thoughtful, trustworthy, and that is especially true of a mother and her cubs. They have a jolly sense of humor too, though, and curiosity and compassion, just like Dorothy did. Dorothy's humor came out in the parody songs she started and then were continued as a family tradition. The first one came to her while she was ironing, the tune of "You've Gotta Be a Football Hero," creating a parody song for Sheldon's parents' anniversary, and they even put it on a record. I tried to fit some kind of parody song in, but I have a sense that I am nowhere near as talented as she was at these. She continued to send parody songs along with family to events, even if she couldn't make it herself, and of course was regaled with them by her own family at special birthdays and celebrations. Dorothy's fierce love for her family didn't just stop with her immediate family. She has to this day been remembered by many of Michael and Barbara's friends as a second mother, and Dorothy's extended family, many of you I know are watching today, were all the lucky recipients of Dorothy's care and love through so many calls, cards, and gifts, and of course, those amazing parody songs. For many years, Dorothy loved to talk on the phone and was known as a talker, but she was also known as a very good listener. It went two ways for her. She particularly enjoyed her conversations with Sheldon's sister Millie. They became really close after Sheldon and Dorothy were married. Physically, Dorothy may have had challenges with her heart, suffering in her later years first from a heart attack and then congestive heart failure. But in the figurative sense, Dorothy's heart was strong, boundless, and her love for her family and friends knew no end. Dorothy was a fabulous cook, so Barbara's PTA lunch at home was likely an incredible lunch. When Dorothy got married, she actually didn't know how to cook because her mother had always cooked, but she learned fast and well. Dorothy, a beautiful, great lady, always had a lovely figure and was more interested in cooking than eating. Though she did love making and cooking, I'm getting to it, don't worry. Though she did love making and cooking Jewish food like chopped liver and matzo ball soup, and was perhaps most remembered for her cinnamon rolls, it was the Schatz side that taught the kids how to eat. So the joke was that in her later years, as she enjoyed her food more, Dorothy really became the Schatz. When Barbara was 10, Dorothy went to work full-time for Sheldon in his insurance office and continued to work for him for many years until Sheldon retired. Dorothy was a working mom and a homemaker, but she always found a way to balance everything and be present for everyone. After Sheldon retired, they spent their time together being social with friends, going to the Des Moines Playhouse and the movies, and just being with each other until Sheldon's death in 2004. Dorothy also loved playing mahjong and bridge, playing mahjong into her 90s. She was very active in the synagogue, had an adult bat mitzvah, and was the first woman at Tifereth to have an aliyat to Torah at the high holidays. She was thrilled to have her family engaged in Judaism however they could be, and really kept the traditions going as much as she could. Dorothy began experiencing a lot of health challenges when Sheldon was still alive, and he cared for her. There was concern in the family about how Dorothy would manage after Sheldon passed away, but she was still able, thanks especially to her wonderful caregiver Florence, to have an incredible quality of life. She never lost the spark that made her the witty, loving, generous, and conscientious person she always was. In the last 15 years, it was family, eat was an amazing woman, strong emotionally and spiritually, if not always physically. A loving wife, mother, grandmother, and friend, tirelessly moving through life, devoted to those she cared about for so many years. She found ways to appreciate life even when it knocked her down, and was grateful for all that she did have. I brought the selection from Proverbs, the woman of valor, in the beginning because it sums Dorothy up so well, who she was and what she brought to the world. And as the writer asks, may we now, and whenever we think of her, say, many women have excelled, but you surpass them all. Give her credit for the fruit of her labors. May her deeds always praise her at the gates. And though physically her mother's love may have left this earth, the love she has left in so many hearts will never, ever, ever go away. Yehi Zihra Baruch. May Dorothy's memory always be full of blessing. May God comfort her son Michael, her daughter Barbara, the grandchildren Carly and David, and great-grandchildren Elliot and Miles, her many nieces and nephews, an extended family, and all who knew her and cared for her, and of course, loved her. I'm now going to read a letter from Michael and Barbara to their mom. Letter to Mom, May 17th, 2020. Dear Mom, you and Dad always taught us to show our appreciation, so we want to take this opportunity to thank you one last time for everything you have done for us. Most importantly, you have been the best mom anyone could ever be. You always made us feel that you were proud of us no matter what we did. We constantly felt that we were the top priority in your life. You gave us unconditional love and never-ending support. There are so many things that you taught us that we appreciate, but a few things really stand out. You taught us how to be conscientious in every situation. You taught us the value of considering the feelings of others, and that the way to deal with people was with warmth and caring. You taught and modeled always trying to do the right thing under any circumstance. And you taught us the importance of family. You and Dad attended every family occasion you were physically able to. Even after Dad passed away, you still made it to several family celebrations and invited all of the family to 2 of your own special birthdays. We also certainly appreciated the amazing strength and wonderful attitude you exhibited. Since Dad had done so much for you when he passed away, we worried about you being on your own. But you showed us that you were fully capable of going on. We know how much you miss Dad, but you rarely complained about that or anything else. You took what life gave you and always tried to make the best of it. What an inspiration you were. We can't write this and not mention food. We remember 2 lines from our childhood that always made you and us smile. In early elementary school at the Mother's Day program, each child stood in front of the class and described, quote, what my mother meant to me. I, Michael, proudly got up there and said, my mother feeds me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And indeed, you did. We can remember all the wonderful meals you prepared for us and our extended family, and your cinnamon rolls were legendary. The love of food in the family led to the second line we remember. There was often talk about Dad going on a diet when we were growing up. And I, Barb, evidently said, who is going to stay with me when you go on a diet? You were certainly always the nurturing mom in every way, with food being only the most concrete example. In summary, Mom, you have been an extraordinary role model as a mother, a spouse, and a person, not only for us, but for our children, Carly and David, and for our extended family as well. We will certainly miss you, but you will always be with us in who we are and who we want to be. All our love, Michael and Barb. So now, as is Jewish tradition, we're going to bury Dorothy ourselves, and I ask that we cover the top of the casket with earth. After we've lowered her down, I will say a short blessing when we lower her down in Hebrew and English, and then will pay her the ultimate kindness in Jewish tradition, which is to bury her ourselves, because it's an act of kindness that she can never repay to us. So that's the main reason why we do it, as a big act of kindness and act of gratitude and appreciation for everything that Dorothy was for us and to us all of these years. So traditionally, you do one shovel upside down, concave, I guess it is. And then, because it's something you don't want to be doing, you don't want to be saying goodbye. And so that upside down shovel is a sign of regret that you have to do this. And then typically people do 2 other shovels or 1 other shovel the right way, like the normal shovel way. And then you put the shovel in the earth, because again, you don't want to gladly hand it off to someone else, but sometimes the shovel falls and sometimes people need help, and if you do pass it off to someone else, nothing's going to happen to you. But that's traditionally why people leave it in the earth, if you're not sure why that happens. And like I said, we're going to keep going until the top of the casket is covered completely. And I've asked for help from the people from Dunn's to make sure that we do that in a timely manner, because there aren't so many of us. But we will keep shoveling